Odin hanging from the Yggdrasil tree. And the father of the gods went to the center of the earth and saw the Yggdrasil tree growing with its roots towards the heavens, and grabbed onto one of the limbs of the tree, and then grabbed onto another, and then lifted his foot over one of the branches and hung his other foot over his knee, and hung upside down upon the Yggdrasil tree. This was the yoga of hearing the runes of the universe. The tree was inside of the earth and was growing with its roots towards the ground, in the very hollow of the earth. And Odin was hanging according to the reverse gravity of the inside surface of the center of the earth, upside down, so that his ear was almost touching the very roots that ran bulbously and tortuously into the ground just beneath the mantle of the earth. The interior space was beautiful, and the sound of a waterfall could be heard somewhere in the distance of this valley. There was even a sun inside of the earth that was white and whose brilliance yet did not burn the skin. A large white bird flew by Odin's face that trailed a fan of feathers like those of a peacock, but whose upper body was elongated and crane-like. As he looked off into the abyss that hung from the Yggdrasil tree, he saw large snakes that were coiled around the hulky limbs of it, and that were moving up and down the trunk and around it. What did Odin have to fear for snakes, since they too would more than likely possess their secrets? As one of the snakes moved around Odin's wrist, he grew very calm and centered his breathing inside of his stillness, and he took refuge in this silence within himself. And as he went deeper into his contemplative breathing, he felt the snake tightening around his wrist with its tail and moving the rest of its body down his chest. Finally, when the first snake reached Odin's ear, the snake began to sing, and his song went, "Odin, why do you seek to hear the runes of the universe, you who are the master of the world?" And Odin continued to breathe in silence and to listen to the song inside of his breath. The snake then said, "Odin, all of the world is in your liege, and we are your servants. What power do you seek that you do not already have?" And Odin continued to retreat into the cave of himself, concentrating on the source of the song that surfaced within the rhythm of his breathing. And he went deeper inside of his mind with one of the syllables that he had learned as a child. And as he scaled the heights of his mind's sky and soared through the strata of his own sound, his eyes began to roll back in memory of what he knew when he was first walking and of what came before. And the other snake began to coil around his midriff and said, "How long will you be able to hang there, Odin? Here, let me tie you to the trunk of the Yggdrasil so that you do not fall." And Odin continued to listen inside of his retreat in the cave of his innermost sanctuary and being, until he heard the quiet thrumming of the runes tintinnabulate among the evening stars. "And yaw," he said, and the whole earth was made to tremble among his laughter and tears. And he sighed, "The universe exists between silence and sound." The tree. We will have sat beside the roots of the tree that had grown in our love's imagination. We, once long ago, had picked the fruits that grew upon the low-flung branches of this tree. Yes, we had exchanged the morsels we'd picked and eaten them from one another's locked arms. Such a tree grew in the water of our loving kindness and dropped 1,000 books on the autumn ground. Our arms had become all entwined as the branches of this tree and grew thorns to protect its fruit. Our limbs extend into all our associations and feed others the fruits which grow out of the sap of our love. Indifferent to the vicissitudes of our compassion, whatever rain fell inside of our heart gives each root a push. Closer to one another than we are close to our own selves, and also more universal than the air, our leaf mingles with time. Hidden in the marrow of this tree is the undivided essence of us both, from which we both sprung out of. Therefore, the trunk of this tree looks like lovers entwining, their legs leaning into one another beneath the torque of wood. We would like to believe that we live in the innocence of our coming together, with purity and intent, having no two ways. It is to this extent that the tree of us has given fruit to all those who have also sat at the base of our trunk and laughed. Sunlight falls in the draught and in the beams of our openness, and many lovers place mixed purple and yellow flowers as a tribute to us. Our own flowers are spiked red with butterfly patterns, and hummingbirds love to hover in midair beside their blooms. Often our song becomes delicious nectar in the purses of those blooms and feeds the visitors to our limbs. Are we not altogether delighted that such a fluorescence of petals has fallen in the draught of the summer's wind? We wonder for how long we will continue to wind into the sky, but neither of us questions the myriad ways of our going.